So I noticed that Bruiser Brody's, who Dad and him were great friends, one of Dad's best friends, I think, in the wrestling business.
Absolutely.
Noticed that his birthday was a few days ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we're also coming up on the anniversary of his death. I was just gonna tell the story of that. I guess it was the day after. It was going throughout the wrestling world.
And this is like before, like
Sure, no
how
internet.
it was now.
Yes, this was 1988. Um, so my memory of it was, of course, I knew Bruiser Brody as a kid. So this was 1988. I would have been 9 years old, something like that. I remember Bruiser coming over to the house or to the apartment and spending the night. I remember us going out to his place. I forget where he lived, somewhere around San Antonio.
Right outside, I think in Bernie is where it was.
Yeah, I knew his son, his wife, all that. And anyways, so I guess it would have been the day after this happened. So we were in Charlotte, North Carolina. We were staying at a hotel. It would have been during the Great American Bash, 1988. And anyways, we were staying on the second floor of a hotel, and it was the type of hotel where you walk out your door and then you're outside. It's not like you're in a hallway or something. So anyways, I just looking outside, standing on the second floor balcony, and I see Paul Ellering. And apparently, I think the wrestlers were coming back. It was like noon. It was daylight. And I don't know if the guys were coming back from something, because I remember after Dad found out, it was like he was taking a shower, getting ready to go out again.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
You were there, you were with Dad when he heard.
Well, I wasn't with him.
You must have. So you went to that little door and ran upstairs. Okay.
Well, so
I remember exactly.
Okay, yeah, I was standing on the second story balcony, and I see Dad downstairs, and I see Paul Ellering walk towards him, and I just, even as a 9-year-old kid, by the way Paul Ellering was walking.
Oh, so I know where you were. You were up on top of that balcony from behind.
Yeah.
And Paul's back would have been to you.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, and I was like, this doesn't look good, and I just saw Paul go up to Dad and just mouthed a few words, and Dad was holding his suitcase in his hand.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And Dad just...
Him and Unc both dropped their bags.
Okay, yeah, I just remember seeing Dad just drop his suitcase, and that was who was Unc that you're talking
Kevin
about?
Sullivan.
Kevin Sullivan. Yeah, so I just remember
because I was standing right behind them.
Just dropped his bag, like, so Paul told him, and Dad just dropped his suitcase. Yeah. And then so I didn't know what happened. I just saw Paul Ellering tell Dad something, and then so I go back in the hotel room, and then Dad comes upstairs, and man, you can tell Dad was just, and you could tell. I remember he was getting ready to go back out on the road. It was like he came back to the hotel to shower, and whatever.
We had just come back from eating.
Okay. Yeah. See, I don't remember it like that.
Yeah, we had just come back from the restaurant that was the buffet style, right across the street. You, me, Mom, Dad, and Unc had come back across the street. You apparently ran back up the stairs, and Paul Ellering walks out from that little sidewalk, and he says to Dad and Unc, he goes, "Did you guys hear the news?" "What? Did you guys hear the news?" "What?" And Mom goes, "Did you hear the news?" He goes, "What?" And then Paul goes, "Bruiser Brody was killed." Yeah. And Dad and Unc both dropped their bags. "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Last night." And then Dad told Mom he was to take Jace upstairs.
Yeah.
And it was it was really, really odd. It was a strange day. It was like sort of like in a dream. Yeah. Where you didn't really know what was going on. It was like it just didn't register with me as a 10, nearly 11-year-old kid that knew him since the time I was born, because he's one of the first people that I remember. And it didn't even seem, and I didn't know what the circumstances were, but I found out about 10 minutes later. And then, of course, how it goes in wrestling, the stories change as to what happened. Like Shawn Michaels said, the truth is always buried down at the bottom somewhere. But the first story was normally the correct one. That's, exactly what ended up happening.
Yeah, I just remember being up in the hotel room, and Dad was, because I didn't know. I guess so. I must have been up in the hotel room by myself, and then y'all came in, and I was asking Dad, "Well, what happened? What happened?" You could tell he was just
he didn't want to talk about it.
He was just visibly irritated by, he did not want to talk about it. Like, I was like, "What happened?" And so I don't know if this is good to say, but he was just in shock, and I'm like, Dad, like he was telling me, I go, what happened? He goes, Bruiser Brody got stabbed, and I kept pushing. I was pressing.
Well,
I
you
was
were
like,
9 years old. You
yeah.
didn't know what was going
I
on.
was like, what, what happened? He was like, what happened? He goes, he got stabbed. I'm like, what do you mean he got stabbed? He goes, they took the knife and cut him. I was like, oh.
And
Okay.
I remember we had that rollaway bed in the corner of the hotel room, and I was just sitting on that bed like,
yeah,
I couldn't even comprehend what had happened.
Yeah.
But then days later, it went on and on and on. And Dad had problems with those same people too. But what the really cool thing that happened that night is when everybody got to the dressing room for Crockett that night, and I'm sure Vince did something in Japan, they all stood up and said, nobody is to ever go work for that Puerto Rican office ever again. And I don't think there might have been a few guys that did, but everybody pretty much took a stand of solidarity and said, no, we're never working for those people ever again.